Hey everyone, welcome to the Allbound Awesomeness Podcast, where we talk about inbound, outbound sales, marketing, all of that kind of good stuff. Brought to you by Impressa Solutions, and today we are here with the fantastic Jon McGreevy. For those of you who don't know Jon, he is a freelance copywriter and email strategist who works with SaaS companies to be less boring. He is also the host of the Sassy as Fuck podcast and the Freelance Frontier live Q&As. When he's not ranting about tedious and soulless SaaS copywriting, he's probably daydreaming, playing video games with his wife Jessie, or brewing surprisingly good kombucha. That sounds delicious. Thanks for being here, Jon.
Thanks for having me on. It's lovely to be here.
So, I guess, we'll jump right into it. So, primarily, it sounds like you do a lot of email copywriting, but word on the street is, I've heard a rumor that you maybe kind of hate marketing emails. Can you kind of explain what's going on there?
I can. I do. I hate marketing emails. It's a strange niche to kind of pick, but that was basically when I started into copywriting like 2 years or so ago, I went, right, what do I want to write? And email is one thing I didn't want to write because I get so sick of either badly written or boring or just those emails that just kind of get fired at you with no real thought. And they annoy me so much. I unsubscribe from pretty much everything that gets in my inbox. If something makes it to like 3 emails, they're doing surprisingly well. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't like it. And then I realized it was last year I did... I was like, okay, I'll have a look at email to kind of give it a chance after talking to Summer Aways. She's a SaaS copywriter that focuses on emails. And I had her on my podcast and I talked to her and I was like, okay, I'll give it a look because she seems to love it. She seems to be really good. She kind of sold me on it a bit. I joined her SaaS email course. And then I was like, oh, no, actually, the thing I don't like is how crap they are. And so if I write better emails, that's a good thing, and that's actually better. I've kind of channeled that annoyance and that strong dislike of marketing emails into my career now, which may or may not end up being a bad decision.
I dig. So let's take it back a little bit further. So what did your journey look like? How did you end up getting into marketing and copywriting? Before this. So I spent 13 years working in tech. I was a software tester. My days were spent just looking for bugs and issues and just testing software, working with developers, working in tech companies. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I was sick of just kind of the 9 to 5, sick of managers, sick of annual objective setting. I was sick of making other companies money while they're going, well, we can't afford to give you another £1,000, whereas they're making sometimes millions in profit. And you go, well, I'm sick of this. And so I was kind of like, the one thing I've loved doing all my life was writing. And so my wife, Jessie, literally said to me, like, why don't you just write? You love writing, do that. And I was kind of not really sure. So I went and kind of did some more research and then kind of came across something that talked about copywriting and went, oh, okay, that looks interesting. That looks really exciting, actually. And then I listened to the Copywriter Club podcast a bit, try and get a better idea of it. I ended up stumbling upon an episode from, I've forgotten his name now, which is terrible. So I stumbled across an episode with Josh Garofalo, and he talked about SaaS. I was like, oh, well, I've tested SaaS products. I love tech. And that kind of ended me go, oh, well, I'll be a SaaS copywriter then. And this was probably 2.5 years ago. I'll do that. Started doing it in my kind of free time, trying to do it. And I found out that 1, I was good, and 2, people wanted to hire me. And so I kind of quit my job one day after a pretty dull and just generic meeting with my manager about objective setting. I was like, no, this is it. I can't do this anymore. I've got other people that want me to write for them. Why would I keep doing this? And I quit that day, and I haven't really looked back since. No, that's absolutely fantastic. And I really do enjoy, hearing stories from people who've actually found something that they're passionate about and enjoy, particularly when you're coming from something that just was not feeding your soul at all.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
as you've been kind of immersing yourself in the world of copywriting and marketing for the past 2.5 years, so obviously we already talked about you not being too keen on marketing emails. Is there anything else that you're seeing kind of either emerging in the world of marketing or things that marketers have been doing that you're like, oh, that you maybe have some words for?
Yeah. I've got to be careful not just rant for hours, because it is. Yeah. Yes. It's generic writing, generic marketing voice. And you see it in every industry, but I work within SaaS specifically, and so I see it a lot there. It feels like everyone's trying to sound like Trello in 2013. That's what everyone reads like. Every header is like, oh, the ultimate solution for streamlining your team's activities. That tells me nothing. It's just got no actual personality. It's just kind of, it's written in this generic voice, and I'd get sick of that, just throwing out buzzwords and having no personality and no humor. There's no humanity in it. And so if I read something and it feels like, nowadays a good test is if you read it and go, could this have been written by ChatGPT? Then it's pretty soulless. And AI is something that does get a good average of what people are already doing, and that's kind of what a lot of copywriters already do. They just go, right, okay, well, I read this other page that sounded like this. Oh, I went to Notion's landing page, and so I'll just pretty much say what they've said, and it's just so dull and uninspiring. And so I'll find myself irrationally kind of signing up to a tool that might be subpar just by the virtue of they've got just a bit more personality or a bit more fun, or just anything really. Even if it's not like that, even if they're like particularly stern or passionate about something, that's better than just saying the same generic stuff. So yeah, that kind of, as you can probably tell, boils my blood slightly. And it's I don't think it's necessarily kind of a lack of quality. It's more just a lack of creativity and maybe an element of complacency in the industry. They kind of feel like they can just go through the motions, and then people just sign up, and maybe they don't realize that they can have a different voice and a different tone.
Yeah, that's one of the things with ChatGPT and kind of this rise of AI. It's really interesting to see how, the writers who are the most scared about it are the ones who are kind of churning out a lot of the stuff that was so soulless, that is generic, that has the that corporate voice. And for those folks, I guess ChatGPT is coming for their jobs, but it does give folks the opportunity to start doing stuff that is going to be unique and that is going to be more, better create and better encapsulate these brands that they're working for. So, Speaking of AI, how have you been tapping into that?
I like technology. I would call myself a technologist, and I'm excited about anything new that comes in. I think AI is another technology to be excited about, and I think it has its place in marketing, has its place to a writer. The place isn't writing everything, but it's a great tool. Using it for research or ideas generation, even kind of sometimes like outline, but they kind of, the outlines they spit out is very much kind of, again, very just generic and cookie cutter. And so not necessarily that as much, but I think what it's good for is kind of finding those blind spots. So if I'm writing a series of emails or a blog post that cover themes, just putting in there, all right, give me an outline of this, or give me ideas for this. And there might be things I'll go, oh, I didn't think about that. That's really useful. I guess it's similar to bouncing ideas off somebody else in the know, but it's just a bit more convenient, and it kind of it scours it for you. But on the other hand, there's a reliance on AI right now that kind of, or a perceived increased reliance on AI. And I'm sure there are companies that are generating huge amounts of content with AI, and some people, lots of tech bros on Twitter like to spend their days going, oh, you could just churn out 12 blogs a week and that'll be amazing for your SEO. But at the same time, I think it's also going to be a bit of a curse for those people long term. I think that AI detection tools already exist. They're going to get better. There's going to be a bit of a back and forth. And I think that long term, you're going to look at places like Google and Bing, if you're into that kind of thing, and they will eventually incorporate that stuff that will identify and filter out and deprioritize AI generated content. So even though it has its place in marketing and in content generation process, when it comes to the actual writing side of it, I think that it's going to be a bit of a poison chalice long term for people who rely on it for the actual writing part, which, that's a very much long. I think I answered more questions than you asked then.
No, that was absolutely brilliant. And, it's one of the things that we've seen this with some of our clients. We work with a lot of folks in the SaaS space, and we've, a lot of other kinds of tech companies. And, we've had folks being like, well, why don't you just have AI write the thing? Why'd you still have writers? And it's like, well, if you'd like to have an entire blog that sounds exactly the same using information from 2.5 years ago, more power to you, go ahead. However, no one's going to read that, and your bounce rate is going to be absolutely astounding after a while.
Exactly.
Even in the short term, it's just not there.
It needs to be good to read. And if things aren't good to read, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. If only I could convince all of our clients and potentially and our prospects of that. If only we could get everyone on the same page, that would be great. So what, overall in marketing, what have you been really eyeing up? New trends that you've really been enjoying, or just overall, what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I think I've probably alluded to it pretty strongly already, that personality and humor, storytelling, those kind of the human aspects of marketing are going to be very much, that's the best thing in marketing right now. Anytime there's something that feels a bit more human and feels a bit more self-deprecating, or at least self-aware, I think that social media is a great platform for seeing that kind of stuff. You're seeing more and more accounts with TikTok's a great place. I know that a lot of people will be kind of, I was quite resistant to TikTok. I'm 36 years old, and for a bit I was like, I don't know. From what I've heard, it's just dancing teenagers, and that's not for me. But there's so much content there. It's so thing, and you see brands making effectively an advert that you want to watch. It's entertaining, it's engaging, the people in there are charismatic, and that kind of content, whether it's on social media, on your website, and your emails and your blogs, is going to be like it. I'm seeing more and more, and it's just so good, and it means that you can be so much more selective about like the brands that you choose based on that, and you can. I think it's also you see the brands that see the opportunity to stand out amongst their competitors, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Is I think likability is probably what it comes down to more than anything else. Is that if it feels like you like the person or like the thing they're saying, or you relate to it, then you're going to like the whole brand and you're going to like the whole thing. It's I think we're moving away from the days where everything is written into generic, weird, Tech X believe this, and this is what we're going to do for you. You can actually have blogs or videos or content from the CEO or from the marketing team or even the developers or whatever. All these different people in the company can make honest content that is engaging and is about the people as well as just the company as a whole. So I like that, and that's what draws me towards things. An example I always give, weirdly, is Oatly, the oat milk brand. Is that I went to, I think me and my partner at the supermarket went, we're going to try oat milk. And then we looked to the wall of oat milk and went, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know what's good or what's bad. And then purely because I saw a joke on the side of an Oatly carton and it looked different and had a little cartoon, and it was just a bit, they weren't taking it too seriously, and you could tell personality. It made jokes about the CEO on there, and it made, it had all these things that made you go, oh, okay. I even if it's just, I like the person who designed that carton, that was still more than any other company had. And so that's what I like to see. And that's what, we see companies doing better nowadays when they have a bit more personality to them, especially newer companies that are taking more risks and showing a bit more personality in their content.
For sure. Like, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but really, if we're thinking about like the future of marketing, at least for the near term, it really seems that there's that shift in terms of personality, more humanized everything, having more community and all of this, more people, less corporate shenanigans. Because the example you gave, especially with TikTok, is really great. So I'm about to be 42, really resistant to TikTok. And I'm like, you know what? I went down this rabbit hole. I really highly recommend spending some time there. It's really engaging because you have a lot of this great user created content. Some of it's absolutely hilarious. Some of it is really insightful. You get to have these glimpses into all of these people's lives, which is fantastic. And then, yes, shuffled into it are these brand messages where it might be someone doing sponsored content, sometimes just very subtly. Other times, though, it's just a straight up ad that I realize I'm watching this ad and I'm enjoying the ad. And then I look at the little, the bottom of the screen and I'm like, I'll be damned. Okay. Yeah. You've got me.
You've been tricked, but you also kind of have respect for it, especially working in marketing, kind of like, fair play. I watched that and enjoyed it and then realized what I was watching.
Yeah, no, very, very much so. And some of it's really, especially when it is coming from entrepreneurs, from business owners, someone's talking about like, this is my company, this is my product, this is what, in a very human way, like this is why I started it, or this is what we're currently going through. So, et cetera. I'm like, geez, Louise, it's so compelling and it's so engaging. Not that I've gone and bought anything off of TikTok yet. I don't know what my future holds, but I think for marketing, it's really this personalization of everything, and this human touch is really, what's going to be the big wave.
I think you're right. I don't think it's putting words in my mouth. I completely agree with what you said. I think that you mentioned community as well, and that's what you kind of do, and that's what those kind of platforms do. But that's what generally brands have always done. Really, is build a community. The biggest example is Apple or Android and things like that, is that you have these communities of people who really have these massive biases towards something, and they kind of go, right, I've invested in that, therefore I'm staying. But you see that more if you're rooting for people, and we like people more than companies. If you like them and root for them, then you'll do more. You'll buy from them, or you'll tell someone else to watch their stuff, or you'll share it, or you'll subscribe to their Patreon if it's a content creator, or if it's a brand, you might go and try their product, or all these things. It does become a community because you are rooting for the people. You can't build a community in the same way when you're just around just like a faceless brand. It's normally around the people that are involved and the people there, and I think that it's a massive part of it. And yeah, personalization from both sides. I guess it's both content that's better for the person, but also the content is personalized for the company, and it's actually got people talking and people with feelings and emotions and stuff, and it's more honest, and so we're more trusting, I guess, is the kind of the end result of it.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. It does establish so much more trust and rapport with having that actual human, and it's something that for, again, a lot of our clients, we're really trying to push them to be able to have, their business leaders, their sales and customer service team, their founders, et cetera, be more front and center with their marketing and do more of their stuff through, for example, their personal LinkedIn versus their brand page, because no one wants to follow their brand. But, if they're giving that good quality content and building that trust and rapport, it's going to go so much further. It's the idea of, also just giving and actually helping and building value as opposed to sell. Yes.
Yeah. Value is a very good word there. It is, because value means anything. It's either helping you, or it's entertaining you, or it's, giving you something, even if it's just a quick laugh, or it could be something deeply helpful. That is value. And we inherently trust people more and like people more, and are going to listen to people more if they've given us that.
Yeah, no, very, very true. So what do you do for your own marketing?
I think this is kind of probably applies to, from what I've seen, quite a few marketers, is that I've been pretty bad. I've been pretty complacent. I've not done as much. I've made plans and I've started things, and I deviate away, and kind of my next step is going to be to stick to something. But my marketing so far has been, when I first started, I started a podcast, Sassy as Fuck podcast, with my friend Alex, who's a producer, which is convenient, by the way. Starting a podcast and being friends with a producer is mwah. And I kind of thought, let's do that. And I kind of didn't know why. I was like, well, that could be good, and it's ended up being like that was really useful. That went really well, and I can ended up a bunch of the guests ended up being clients, and they've referred me, and listeners have been in touch, and it's done a lot. And then since then, it's been either repeat business or kind of referrals. And nothing really I've done since then has really kind of generated new business, because I've not really done very much. It's something I need to do more of, and I'm in the process of creating, a lead magnet and creating some actual content on my website and doing more things that will actually kind of, giving that value, I guess, is what I need to do next. Because even though I'm very fortunate that I'm still getting plenty of work from those referrals and from the repeat business, but that's not long term, that's not good enough. And so I kind of it's I think it's not good, because I know that I'm not doing enough. I haven't done enough, and so I'm in the process of doing that now. And it's going to be I'm going to be creating more content on my website and some social videos and a lead magnet. But largely speaking, for the last year, nothing, which is pretty shameful to say on a marketing podcast as a marketer. And I haven't, and I've been resting on my laurels.
No, it's something that we struggle with, and with our agency, we always kind of do this thing where we strive to be our own best client, but it's an effort we keep having to renew over and over again, because it's so hard to stick with it. Client work comes in, you start to prioritize that, you spend more time with sales. It's really hard to devote that time, or to, in my case, take someone and put someone in a role, be like, own this, to actually treat us like a client. But no, so many marketers are so poor at that. We do a lot of work with other agencies, and sometimes we'll talk to someone and they're like, "Oh yeah, we specialize in social media," and they haven't updated their Twitter in like 3 years. And you're just like, "Oh my."
Which is wild. I always do the same check if someone says like, I'll do your TikToks for you. I'm like, you've only got like 3 followers and 20 views on TikTok. I'm not sure it's the best thing, but I don't think that's actually a good reflection on their ability to do it, because you're right. And you kind of, I think you nail on the head, is that you always prioritize client work because that's got a financial short-term value to it. Is that, a marketing video, you can't really measure long-term how much you've earned from that thing. And especially when you're making it, if you wake up and you go, right, okay, I've got either this to write for a client, or I'll set up my camera and record some videos. It's so easy to push that back. And that's what, that's what I've done a lot. That's what, I think that's, like you said, I think it's so easy to do. And it's kind of an irony of marketing that, often marketers are terrible at marketing themselves, whereas sometimes you'll see kind of solopreneurs who've got this like one like tech company they've created by themselves, and it's a one-person shop, and they're creating all these videos and they're doing this marketing stuff. I'm like, they should not have the time to do that, and they're doing more than I'm doing. So I should probably sort my shit out.
When I see folks who are doing all of the things, I just kind of picture them just subsiding on caffeine and a complete lack of sleep. And it's like, I want better for myself, Yeah.
I like having hobbies. I like being able to stop in the evening and playing video games or going for a walk or any of that stuff. But I feel like, there's an element of, they seem to just be on 24/7, and fair play to them, especially ones that are doing well. But you look at the ones that are doing the same effort and not getting as far, and feel like, that would kill me, I think, just to work that hard and then go, no one's signed up still.
Yeah. No, that would not be a good feeling. If that's you, for anyone listening to this, I'm sorry. Talk to us. We can help you. We can help. Did you know that I'm an author? That's right. I have a new book out, The Inbound Marketing Machine. Unlock the secrets to B2B marketing strategies that convert. While marketing teams struggle to agree on what strategy actually looks like, this book gives you a holistic framework for content creation and distribution that converts more contacts, nurtures more leads, and benefits the bottom line. Get your copy exclusively on Amazon, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free today. So, but you are doing, your podcast, Sassy as Fuck. Tell me a little more about it.
So it came from me going, I'm going to be a SaaS copywriter. What next? I didn't really know anyone except for just past employers. I didn't really know anyone who worked in SaaS, especially not SaaS marketing. I had no real idea. And so, okay, I went through some ideas, thought podcasts. I like podcasts. I don't listen to loads, but ones that I like, I kind of really enjoy listening to. I like that you can do it while driving or doing the dishes or whatever. You can it's more dynamic. And so, okay, I'll do that. And yeah, friend of ours is a producer. So I went, hey, Alex, how would you like to come in and produce a podcast for no money at all? And for some reason he said yes and agreed to do it. And he came in, and it's been great. We've had some great founders, marketers, copywriters on the podcast talked to. We've learned some, like, for me personally, hearing their kind of stories and experiences has taught me more than anything else about SaaS and about SaaS marketing. Several of them become, I said, kind of clients, but also friends and mentors. And that's been really good. And the intros and outros tend to be just me and Alex just talking crap and making jokes and just mucking about, really. I think it's quite liberating, especially at the start. And we kind of went, oh, well, no one's going to listen to this, so it doesn't matter what we say or do. And so we just kind of mucked around and made jokes. And it got to a point where people were starting to listen, and the podcast and the episodes were getting longer and longer. We thought, okay, we better rein that in a bit. But it's it's good informal interviews with experts around SaaS and marketing, and as a marketing as a whole, there's some great advice in there, and some great people. Not for me. The advice from me is, I'm just going to sit there just in awe of the people that have agreed to come on. I've just been and yeah, so that's kind of it. Really, is a lot of kind of advice, a lot of interviews, lots of chat, and it's the review I get the most is it's surprisingly funny for a SaaS podcast, which I'll take. I will take that any day of the week. Although I did realize that calling it Sassy as Fuck, which was named because it just made me laugh one day, thought that's a funny name, was a terrible choice, because some things just won't show it because it's got asterisks to mask the swearing to a degree. It gets censored by that. Search engines can't find it. Certain search engines bring back very inappropriate results. And so that was a bad choice. The name was a bad choice, but overall, it's been a very good experience, and it's been very, very fun for me.
So, how do you select your guests?
It's been all the same except one. So mostly, I just go, that person's interesting. I would love to talk to them, and so I'll just message them and hope for the best. And surprisingly, pretty much everyone I've messaged has said yes. It's been amazing. I was expecting a lot of just blockings or who are you, but people tend to be lovely. People are willing to take the time, and so they said yes. They came on and they were great interviews. One time we accepted, basically a VA got in touch going, look, this CEO or this person wants to be on your podcast. Can they come on and have a chat? And so we went, oh, that's cool. That's easier for us. We don't have to search them out. They just come to us. And we said yes, and we should not have said yes, because this is a guy that clearly was, he was knowledgeable enough, but he was disinterested. He wasn't excited to be there. He clearly had like a calendar full of these things, and he was just trying to get through it for exposure. And he just didn't really care. He didn't want to be there. He wasn't, the person that we kind of went, that guy's cool. We'd love to have him talk to him. And so, every time like we tried to bring in humor or a bit of fun or entertaining questions, the answers were largely like, nah. It was a bit disappointing. Yeah, it was a bit painful. And so, kind of our policy has now remained that we will hand select and hand invite the people that we want on there, because we just that was too painful. And also those people who reach out about that are always, I think, maybe except one, we've had probably about 30 of these, and all but one have been for like, here's a middle-aged straight white male CEO. Talk to him about all the great things he's done. Like, it's pretty dull. Like, there's enough of those out there already. There's enough things. And, speaking as a white male myself, I just kind of feel like just sitting there and just kind of giving more of a platform to somebody who's already got enough of a platform sometimes feels a bit, especially when they're not especially entertaining or especially happy to be there. So yeah, we kind of handpick them based on who we find interesting, who we've got, a story to tell effectively, and things want to have a chat with.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Except for that one experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that sounds lovely. No, it's it's hard. So sometimes it's really hard sourcing guests. So like, my team and I have looked at people in our network and folks that we really enjoy who put out the kind of content that we've really connected with and enjoy talking about. But, at the same time, yeah, it's hard because we want to make sure that we're giving a platform to people who have unique takes and have, diverse viewpoints and have something exciting to say. Because one of the things, my husband's pointed out, and he's a white guy, has been like, you just see like video after video of like middle-aged white guys saying the exact same thing in almost the exact same way.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need something little fresher.
Yeah. And you can't just avoid it, but you can make an effort to have an element of diversity, not in just diversity of whether it's, sexuality or skin color or whatever it is, but also diversity of opinion and of a diversity of experience. And, I'm not that interested in just well-educated person with rich parents successfully starts a company. That's not an interesting story to me. And I'm not kind of saying they shouldn't have that success, but also it's not, for me, it's about interesting conversations. I listen to podcasts about interesting conversations, and I want to have interesting conversations on our podcast. And that's what we focus on. And yeah, it's when your husband's absolutely right. There are so many of people just saying the same things over and over again in just the same ways, and it's just two people looking the same, talking to each other, agreeing with each other. Like, okay, I don't need to be here. Then this is good for you guys, but I'm gonna shoot off.
Yeah, and you touched on something in there that I think is, kind of really important. Just mentioning this off the cuff with, marketing. There's a lot of folks who are talking about this stuff and they've had, all of the privilege in the world, or they've had certain advantages. And then they're talking about, oh, you can do it too. You can be just like me, or you can, and it's like ignoring all of the secret sauce, all of the special things. And you're like, you just need to follow these 3 easy tips, but also you need to be well-funded and you need to open to this certain school and you need to know these people. And, you just need to get lucky and end up running into the right person at the right time at, South by Southwest. And you have to have all these things happen, but, we'll ignore that. You just need to follow these 3 easy steps and then money.
Yeah. Ignore all the privilege that's behind it, which, I know we all have varying degrees of privilege, but it's certain times someone says something and I go, oh, wow, you really missed a massive part there, in which case you had the money to quit your job and start a business and hire people. That's a bit that not many people have. And you're saying as if that's like the easy step one. And it's a bit frustrating. It's also something that for me, because I've kind of been invited on a few podcasts now, not loads. I'm not saying people just banging on my door. People are more interested in being on the podcast than having me on theirs. But at the same time, I've turned a few down based on the fact that I find myself being like, I don't want to be just another of those same faces, like just another English white guy with opinions. And so I've had to I get really torn about it, and I got to put it off until this one getting invited to a podcast. Oh, that looks like a podcast that's focused on things I can add genuine value to. And so it's doing it. Whereas, I never want to be just another person just saying the same thing over and over again that somebody already knows. Because that's the thing that you see all over social media and podcasts and everything. Just, I'm going to say stuff that everyone in the audience already knows and agrees with so that I look better. And it's trying to avoid that where possible.
No, it's that various differing viewpoints and opinions are important, but also if it helps, your opinions are fantastic. You can keep bringing them. They're absolutely fantastic. So, in terms of your podcast, how has this impacted your business? And I'm asking because, obviously at my agency has started a podcast and it's something we've recommended for a lot of other folks. And I'm like, it's beneficial. It helps. How has it helped you?
It's, right now, I would be back in my job in tech miserable if I didn't start my podcast. And I kind of know that, not going to say as a fact because things can change, but at the same time, looking back, that is the one thing that has made the biggest difference is, if I can trace back, I think 96-ish% of my income to the podcast, either through somebody hearing it, or more often it was people who are guests referring me or hiring me or things like that. It's become, it isn't just kind of a content tool and a way of broadcasting. It's also great for networking, which is what I kind of found out, is that you don't meet the same people. You know, there's a good chance that me and you wouldn't be talking or know each other right now if it wasn't for your podcast. And so now you've met another interesting person. And that's kind of the process that I kind of found, is that it really helped me to kind of grow my network, as well as understanding so much more and learning from the people you have on. Hosting a podcast is great because you can ask a question and just listen to someone interesting talk for ages. That is much easier than like this right now, just the constant panic in the back of my head going, don't say something wrong, because you're the one that's going to talk. You've got the one that's going to kind of fill more of the time by answering questions. And also, I've had that before where if you ask a question, I just give like a 3-word answer and you're like, oh no, this is going to be a 6-minute long podcast episode. I get very aware of it. And so hosting it is great because you can just learn from people, listen, hear great stories, surprise people. It's something that not everyone likes about my podcast until afterwards, that I don't tell people in advance what the questions are or the topics to cover. I don't even really ask them what they want to cover. I kind of just research them and then surprise them. I give them the room to talk about what they want to talk about, but at the same time I do that, which is, yeah, some people don't like it as much and like it's a bit less, but it does kind of have its pros and cons in that you get some quite surprising moments and some quite vulnerable takes. Really, you get kind of you see somebody more, and I like this chat. You kind of go different directions, things like that. You can then see more of a person, and so you get to know people and learn so much more than you kind of do from like a blog post. Where if they were writing a blog post about this topic, they'd probably edit it out. Most of the stuff I rambled about today probably wouldn't make it to a final edit of a blog post or an email, because I'll be like, well, that's just rambling nonsense. That's just not good. They won't care about this. Whereas I think for me, the good stuff is in the middle. It's in between. It's those nuances in between the kind of the big points. And that's what you get from the podcast. And so, the learning and the networking side has just been great. And it's just been, it changed. It was the foundation, the launching pad probably for kind of the whole career for me.
I love it. So this is another thing where I wish I had a little place where I could highlight this, like, clients, listen to this, look how valuable this is. But no, it's really, one of the things you said is really true. It's these little bits and pieces in between that maybe would end up on the cutting room floor otherwise, that add so much more color and texture and context that really allow you to get to the heart of some of these things and why some of these recommendations are being made and why some of these things are important. No, it's absolutely, it's not. And again, going back to that more human connection, you don't end up getting with that, super sharp, brief writing that's going to get to, cut to the quick. It's real.
Yeah, it's real, and it's got personality, and it's got things, and also for me, it's kind of, I hate the sales side of things. Like I like marketing, I don't like sales, and obviously there's the, talking about Allbound as we're looking at it, is that for me, I always want people coming to me. I never want to be kind of going, hey, sorry, I don't mean to disturb you. I know you've just signed to LinkedIn and didn't want a stranger messaging you or in your inbox or whatever it is. I get really resistant to that. I don't like it. I kind of, I think done well, it can be done in a very kind of respectful way, but I think that it's done so often in a way that doesn't respect people's time or their situation. And so I'm resistant to that. And actually it was the book Anti-Sell by Steve Morgan that kind of gave me this inspiration to kind of, I'll start a podcast then, because his book talks about all these different ways you can kind of meet people and do a different approach to marketing that isn't, or a different approach to selling that isn't just bombarding people. And he was actually my first client like 6-7 years ago. And he wrote this book. So he's done more for me than really I care to say. He's been, after the podcast, Steve Morgan's really kind of pushed me along.
No, it's fantastic to have those people that you're able to, I have a kind of a list of, these marketing and sales mentors that, some of them know that they've been influential, and others I'm like, I'm just going to keep taking these little gems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Awesome. So we've been chatting for a bit, and it's kind of time to wrap things up. But is there anything I missed? Is there anything that you're like, hot damn, I need to talk about this?
So, I mean, the only other thing really is that I'm kind of put Sassy as Fuck on the shelf for a bit to focus on something called Freelance Frontier, which I didn't really know what it was when I first started it. I kind of got a logo made and went, that looks cool. And that was kind of it. But at the moment, I'm doing monthly live Q&As, and the idea is it's for freelancers to help get better and improve. And so every month we've got a live Q&A with experts talking about a certain topic to basically kind of try and give back and also create basically what I needed two or so years ago to kind of give me that confidence. So like this month we've got Mel Barfield and Sophie Cross talking about LinkedIn. And we had the one last month that was about getting started and finding your first clients. And yes, that's kind of the main kind of other thing outside of my copywriting. I'm hosting these. So if a freelancer's listening and they're trying to improve and earn more money and, just kind of moving along, it's free. It's a live Q&A once a month, and they should check that out.
Yeah. And you can register for that on Eventbrite, right?
Yes, that's right. It's the next event's already on there, and there'll always be one for the next one, but also you can follow Freelance Frontier on there, and then it'll always kind of show you the next one coming up. Awesome.
I'd love to plug the next one, but we're running a little behind on publishing these, so I think the next or next one. So anyway, keep an eye out for that on Eventbrite, y'all.
Yeah, I'll post about it on Twitter. It's fine.
Lovely. Speaking of that, you can find Jon on Twitter at @ThatWriterJon. That's also on LinkedIn as well, right?
Yep.
And then for those of you who maybe would like to do some business with Jon, visit jonmcgreevy.com. And if you want to hear Sassy as Fuck, where can we find that? Pretty much everywhere podcasts live.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple, just I think everywhere.
Perfect. Anything else we didn't cover?
I don't think so. It's been a lovely chat.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. So again, everyone, find Jon on Twitter at @ThatWriterJon. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here, and everyone who's listened to this. Thank you for showing up. Hope to see you next time here at Allbound Awesomeness. Thank you so much. Again, Jon, thank you. Everyone have a good one.